record. All right. Welcome to MTV. We should have brought some music, some 90s, icons and stuff. Where are we and what are we doing? No. I hope you all had a good break. Oh, before we get into that, I will tell you some happy news. So I don't know if I told you this part, but so I've been a fan of Agatha Christie since I was in elementary school, and I've watched the entire series of Agatha Christie's Poirot on BBC. And David Suchet plays Poirot. And David Suchet is going to be the narrator of my husband Lee's documentary. And so we just learned that we are flying to London on the 26th of this month, and I get to meet David Suchet in person, and he's going to be in the studio recording the narration. And then Lee and I are going to go on a little vacation since we've flown all the way over there.
Wow. How Downton Abbey of you. That's fabulous.
What do you?
I said, how Downton Abbey of you.
Oh, it's funny you
That's
say
fab.
that.
I might see you there, Karen. I'm heading off to London in a week, and then I'll be
Ah,
bouncing around a little bit because I'm between homes at the moment, so I'm going to visit for. So I'm going to be still doing this, but from the opposite time of day, which you'll be doing. It'll
all
be
right.
dinner time, and you'll be tuning in because that's the time that the course is on.
That's right. So, uh, if you're there between the 27th and like the 5th of October, we should get together sometime.
Absolutely, we'll say hi. That'd be really cool, wouldn't it?
It
Go and see
would.
the Sherlock Holmes Museum or something cool like that.
I love the Sherlock Holmes Museum. I love Regent's Park that's right across from that.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, we're super excited. So I am taking vacation from for like 10 days or something like that. So Perry, you'll be going alone. Leaving you alone with all these people.
When
Well,
are
that
you
might,
going?
that's you're
Uh,
leaving when, Karen? September.
September 26th, I think we depart and we return October 5th.
Okay.
Wow. Congratulations. That's really cool.
Thank you. I've met him on Zoom, but my only thing is to not go too fangirl on him so that he's just appalled.
Don't turn up with a moustache. That would be too much.
Oh my gosh. I do wonder if I have strong feelings about Kenneth Branagh's Poirot mustache in the movies. I think it's just the worst. What were they? I mean, it might have been historically accurate, but it's very distracting and awful. So there you go.
It's like four different mustaches in one.
It's terrible. No one should have that mustache. Um, okay. So when we were on previous episodes of the MTV study, we had been doing our pilot studies, and when we last met, we were talking about the bit of difference between the volunteer participants and the ones we recruited and paid for. But Perry had done some analysis saying that if you take out, I think it was maybe a little less than 10 people who said that they were very, very familiar with the same show they said they didn't know, that it kind of went back to more similar to the first group of people.
Yeah. So essentially we reran the data. We pulled out, it was actually fortunately a lot more than 10, but we
Mm,
essentially went and um, controlled for those who said they had selected an unfamiliar show and then said they were 5 out of 7 or above familiar with the show. We acknowledge people might go, oh, wait a second, I do know this song after all when they hear it. But if they just told us they don't know the show at all and then tell us they're very familiar with it, that probably means either our directions confused them or they just were being low effort. So we talked about going back through our Qualtrics methodology and seeing if there's anything we want to shore up, just to ensure that no one gets confused throughout the process, assuming positive intent that they're trying to be a good participant. And then also maybe building in a quality check or off ramp so that if people do say they are highly familiar with the show they are not familiar with, that they are excluded from the participant pool. not from the participant pool, but their data is not included in the analysis, so they would not be a part of the analysis plan. They, of course, by the time they've consented to the study, they are now in the participant pool and then are being excluded.
Yeah, so one thing I want to do today is get into our individual writing groups that we talked about last time, but it's possible we have plenty of time, so it's possible that we could look at the Qualtrics together and see if it's set up the way we want it. Make it the decision about just recheck the decision about using the number of songs that are control versus experimental and anything else. Perry, you think that's the best thing to do with our time? Do you want to do that? Do you want to do something else?
I think so. I think that's probably the most pressing in terms of us being able to start the next phase of the study. All right, 'cause essentially we want to start collecting data. We just
Mhm.
want to make sure we have our methodology shored up before we do that.
By the way, just to mention it at the beginning, we have 2 dates coming up in regards to the poster. September 15th is when we lock in our the abstract, which I thought maybe we could rewrite it a little bit if we had some more results. We're so close to analysis right now. And then October 15th, easy to remember, 15th, is when the poster, is it the draft? Draft posters due. So just so we keep that in mind, Angel,
Yes.
you had asked, we kind of rushed that abstract through, so we have a little bit of time to workshop.
Yeah, Jesse made some good comments. I threw some things in, but I was trying really hard not to bother anyone on the break. I thought we said we might meet at the end of this meeting if there was time. If not, Steve and I can meet with you separately.
Oh,
I mean,
Yeah,
if we want to spend a few minutes doing that, we certainly have the time today, and that'll maybe align us before we review or critique our methodology and make any changes.
yeah,
sounds good. I can, if we want to do that now, I can go ahead and share my screen and we can work like that.
sure.
Sounds good.
So I made a new folder just titled Song Poster, TV Theme Song Poster, November session. And this is the only file in it right now, but we'll have more as we get resources for the poster, graphs, charts, different sections of text or anything. We can throw that in there. So is the dark mode easy to see for everyone?
Not for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
here I
the
could
the
switch that
font's
off.
pretty small.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
got my giant screen here at home. How's that?
that's better. Thank you.
Oh, I only see the one little corner of the, let's see if I can move my own thing. Okay, yeah, I can move my own. Okay, got it.
Okay.
Do you want to, since you mentioned a date that's like 2 weeks from now, and you
Mhm.
said about the data collection, so we've got to turn in an abstract by roughly 2 weeks from now. Should we make the decision first? Do we want to try to get results of the study in there? Or do we want to just, do we need to make that decision? In other words, whether we're going to try to get study data or we're going to keep it with the pilots?
So I had a question about that actually. Since I've never attended a session or a poster kind of thing. When you submit your abstract, are you sort of aligning to that with what is being presented on the poster? Because I mean, you think when you submit your abstract, of course, there's some time before you create your poster, and you would think, well, maybe you've done some extra things. Are you limited to what you've put on the abstract? Are we just looking at pilot data? Um, yeah, any
Yeah,
insights?
that's a good question. I don't know if it's written, if there's a written rule anywhere. I'm sure that I have added more stuff to oral presentations and probably written ones too, but it's a decision. Does anyone know of any written rule anywhere, or you can, you could ask Katie if you want to know what she wants you to do for this particular one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, because it's internal within fielding, I think we can add, and that's not really a problem. Honestly, no one but us would probably notice that.
Yeah, that's true.
I think for the purposes of this, since it's internal and not like at a APA conference or something, I think we can make that decision on our own, even if it's not in the initial abstract.
That's a
You
good
know,
point. There's not going to be like a protest. No one's going to like throw paint on our poster because we I thought
and
they
it's
would,
not
but
like
they
we
won't be
just
on the
did a
abstract.
not like we just did a hard pivot and started doing all this, other stuff, right? We're just adding a little bit more than what we promised we would do.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. In that case, I think it is probably a good idea, Karen, to just decide if what we might want to add, and then, we'll, of course, we can't write it all today if we haven't done the analysis. So there's maybe I think we're pretty good. It was a very they gave us a lot of space for this abstract. I think it was like 350 words. So we came in well under that. We're at 282.
So I think the people who are going to take on the lead authorships, the first few authorships can totally decide this. I would say to make it easy on us, we could just stick with the pilots because the full study would require one to write and a basically an abstract of an intro to the full study and et cetera, et cetera. But far be it for me to stop any excitable people from wanting to just do the whole thing. It's just really for experience of presenting a poster. So, but I'll leave the choice up to you if folks are feel strongly about doing one or the other. We will we can, although the rule is usually that you don't submit the same study to more than one presentation because this is internal. It's fine either way, but rest assured, we will present the entire thing somewhere else. We'll apply for a conference somewhere else when we have had time to fully lay out the study in an abstracted form like this. So I'll just take a back seat here because you guys can decide what you want to do.
I just checked the calendar. We only have one lab meeting before the deadline.
Yeah.
So that seems like a lot because if we're incorporating new data, we would not do it without you.
Yeah, and it really, I don't want to rush it, you know.
Yeah,
That
I'd
sounds
like,
great to me. I wasn't expecting us to do, our full study before the 15th,
right.
but maybe so just to point out the sections I was thinking about. So here I talk about the results from our pilot studies a little bit. Early results suggest a two-factor solution, indicating like a mixed affect like we expected, and then just kind of suggesting um, some implications from the early qualitative responses. If we wanted to do maybe a little bit more of an in-depth assessment, I know Perry has been working on his, adjusting for different things. We could add some stuff in there. Otherwise, I'm fine leaving it as it is. I think we could. There's plenty of room for us to talk to things here. I think even our methodology is really interesting and can be talked about. So.
yeah, like I think I said when I wrote some version of the original thing, what makes this a little bit different than only pilots is that we were trying to capture things that were put in the literature as definitive of nostalgia, but we hadn't seen them measured anywhere. So that's why we measured some of those items, the safety and security and comfort and all of that. So that's to me, that's kind of like a mini study, and we'll do it again in the full study, but just to show that people are saying that those concepts, those feelings are part of the experience of nostalgia.
Stephen, I had a comment. I don't know if you saw it, but the abstract, just from a writing standpoint, because I edited a lot, has quite a few of the joining words. I don't think my paper will show it. Moreover, however, furthermore, additionally, and accordingly. That's a lot in a short paragraph. So those are little tweaks that maybe we can work on. And
Sure.
Karen, I also had a question about a question. Since this includes the question, can listening to a TV theme song from the past induce nostalgia and consequently enhance these positive outcomes? In other courses, I was told I could not use a question. Is that still true?
Can you use you can't use a question where?
In the abstract?
Huh? Do you know of
So
any citation for that?
I don't. That's why I'm asking you. I just remembered that, and I love to do just what Stephen did, and no critique on that, Stephen. But I just didn't know, is there a convention I don't know about?
critique is great, by the way. I don't want you to think that I have any, feelings of ownership, but this is a collaborative thing. The reason that I put that in there is because they do specifically ask to put your research question. I know you could frame it in a different way, but it just kind of seemed to flow that way. So happy to change it. In fact, it's loaded on the OneDrive, so you're welcome to go in there and play around with it if you have some ideas on how to tweak. It's open to be worked on. So
Okay.
So it's a little tricky here, and just in the sense that, and I think I wrote something about this when I did that quick draft. That's a hypothesis. Basically, it's just it glosses over a bunch of things, but it's about the full study rather than just the pilots. So one approach would be to take it out or to reword it that in the long run, what we're going for is to do a study where we test that. Um, uh, so yeah, but yeah, so Angel, I don't know of any rule. That doesn't mean there's not one. And I've seen uh, competing ideas about various things. Like some people will say, don't put citations in an abstract, and then other people will say, do it.
Mhm.
A recent one was a student who graduated had put bold things like method, results, conclusions, and said that that was in the new APA jars for abstracts. And the editor at Fielding had said, don't do that, probably because it hasn't been done in the past, but I haven't looked it up. I assume that it actually is in APA jars, but that is news to me. So, yeah, sometimes those things, like somebody will say, don't do it, and then somebody else will say, do it. And the only thing I know to do is to check over in jars and see if there is some definitive statement. I like to use questions in my writing, but um, I guess I do it more in books and book chapters than I do in research papers. The questions themselves, like, would be a research question, but I do in my writing sometimes state things as questions. So
so I just well, I'm gonna steal this real quick to say I just submitted my proposal, so there's that. So super exciting. But because of that, I did just do my abstract, and so I know if you're following strict APA 7th edition, no references in the abstract, but they also limit it to 250 words. So I think because it's an internal fielding thing, maybe they're being um, looser with it. Um, I'm fine taking it out unless we think that having the big names in there would, somehow bolster that, we could certainly talk to them more on the poster.
It doesn't bother me personally, but I'll lean on you guys to weigh in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would leave it
uh,
as is. I think the main thing, right, is sometimes there's guidance around not confusing a research question with the hypothesis, but if that's what this proposal called for, then we keep it as is.
by the way, Jesse posted a visual in the chat,
Mm.
so we can keep that in mind too if we move into any of that.
Yeah, I just kind of was messing around over the break, keeping in mind I've never made one of these and I've never even seen someone present one of these. So I was just like, this looks like maybe I did reference the templates and stuff that Fielding gave. And then there was some pre-made in Canva as well. So I kind of just was messing around, and there's a couple different pages of different options and looks because I didn't know if we needed to align with like Fielding's colors or like branding or like what that looks like. So and I believe with this link, everyone has the option to edit. So just like, you know, the abstract, if someone wants to go in there and create new or just mess around or something like that, you know, feel free to do that.
That's cool. I will say, in my experience presenting, you know, a poster is like, let's say, 3 feet by 4 feet or 4 by 6 feet or something, like, again, an actual space when you're live there. And you have a cloth covered like board, you know, freestanding board behind you and thumbtacks to tack it up. And so in my experience, people do look at visuals, including pictures, but also, you know, if you have a chart, graph, table, it's like the text is relatively small, and some people will stand there and read the whole thing. But a lot of times when you're standing there with a poster, they tend to ask you questions about the things that are huge. So like the tables or the pictures or the graphs.
I noticed that the template that Fielding offers for posters is a PowerPoint slide. Is that
Yep.
normally how these are created?
Yes.
Okay, good to know.
Hmm.
And I had asked the marketing department about the logos. And I noticed, Jesse, did this one come from the poster template?
Oh, girl, I just screenshotted it off the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I did that, mine was pixelated, it wasn't clean. But the ones that I got from the marketing department, they're clean, but they have some extra line like the, what do you call it, slogan on the
Right.
bottom. So I had to
Mhm.
cut it.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know what this will look like if it's blown up. So maybe even if you can drop those files, maybe in like if we have a
Sure.
folder or something like that, that would be cool. Thanks for that.
Okay.
And bravo on like taking the appropriate channels to get there. Here I am just stealing the logo.
Well, they're both good. Yeah, they sent faculty high res versions of just the logos, but and it's fine if it says whatever our current motto is. It's like what is our current motto? Change the world, start with yours.
Yes, that's it. So I was trying to get exactly what she got, which is the logo graphic plus the lettering without the slogan.
Yeah. Yeah, some of them will probably be very maroon and white, you know, like
Yes.
real branded, but I've seen people do their own thing too.
They do have it available in white, reversed. And the problem I had is most of them are EPS files rather than PNG. So whoever's great with Photoshop maybe could adjust, convert.
Yeah, free conversion tools online.
Ah,
I don't know
Yeah, I
about
think
EPS. That's
Fielding
a
also
specialty.
provides their, like you were saying, the PowerPoint template. Honestly, that's typically just as easy, if not easier, to adjust your text and stuff.
yeah.
I say as someone who's used Adobe to make my posters before, it becomes a lot more time consuming unless you're a whiz.
I've been looking for this entire time. I finally found it. So when we got the notification that the poster was accepted, we got a little bit of feedback. I don't mean to take from this, but it was on the abstract. So I'll highlight those here. This is from Dr. McGraw. So I'll just read it verbatim what she says. So on this sentence here, she points out she asks a question about the nostalgic versus non-nostalgic regarding the methodology. She says, is the distinction between this from self-selection by participants? Which is yes, but maybe that highlights that we can, add to that, maybe if it's a little unclear.
Well,
So,
I think it depends if we're gonna just report the pilots, we don't have to have that because that's another sentence about the full study, or we could modify it. I put it in there for sort of context as to why we were doing. I think I wrote something like that in there. We're doing this pilot in order to create these assets that we know are rated as low and high on nostalgia. Yeah, we could use low and high on nostalgia as perceived by each participant. But yeah, it really depends. You could rewrite it from just the perspective of here's two pilot studies. They have two goals. One is to demonstrate that participants can pick low and high nostalgia evoking songs in the main study. And then the other thing is to test whether or not emotion words used in previous definitions of nostalgia can someone help me finish the sentence here? So that people said comfortable, secure, safe. We're documenting that those songs they thought would make them feel nostalgic, make them also feel comfortable, secure, etc. Where what's the word? I don't know,
Positive
verifying.
emotions.
Yeah, verifying that these positive emotions that have been stated as definitional to nostalgia, actually participants will say that they're feeling those things when they're feeling nostalgia. That's a complicated way of saying it, but
yeah, I think we could find a way to word that answers that question for her.
Kind of like it's just like reinforcing. Like I feel like that term is coming up, just like reinforcing that what
Mhm.
people experience as nostalgia are experiencing as nostalgia in this study.
Yeah, the definition of nostalgia is played around. It's adjusted a little bit study to study. I think the Sedekidis folks basically have a good handle on it, but it is cool to see that it presents the way that the theory says it should present. Cool. Next one, next two, the last two are down here on our early results. So
I'm just going to see if I can find some additional visuals just to not to get into the text of it all because there's a lot of minds there, but we might be able to vary up some of those graphics or
Oh,
generate.
totally. Absolutely. Like this is
Yeah,
just
so
placeholders and stuff. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that way, I know you are Mr. Creative. So go ahead, bro. Do your
No,
thing.
no, 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 no. It's just
Take it, baby.
it's cool when you ask it to visualize, for example, positive emotions from watching TV, and it comes up with things that are like, oh, actually, that's summing up a lot of what we're trying to. Anyway, let me have a little play with that.
yeah,
I-
Ross, does the AI images fall under free, is it free use?
Yeah, yes. So my understanding is that you can't copyright them. So you can't
Mhm.
own or you can't copyright an AI image, but it's an AI image, right? So it's not, you know. And so for the purposes of a small presentation in a limited space, The only thing you'd run up against is if there was an artist in the room that said you should have got a human to do that. You
Mm.
know, when you're taking work away from genuine creative artists and all of that sort of stuff. So that's a conversation. But I think some of the stuff that we would do is, I think, so generic that you couldn't identify it as having been stolen from anyone.
Mhm. Especially if it's like you've done in the past, Ross, those that are kind of drawings or stick
Yeah,
figures or more like
illustrations.
icons. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like this idea of you doing that because I've looked in the past for nostalgic television theme images and
Hmm.
in Canva particularly, but also on the Wild West, and have not found as much that encapsulates the way it would if you generate something specific.
Mm.
So, especially if it incorporates some sort of conceptual angle, that's an advantage. And no
Mm.
one else would have it.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it just fills in the gaps around the text, is what I was thinking.
Mhm.
Mm.
All right.
We could actually do, obviously, we could do mapping of conceptual stuff as well, rather than just that, you know, little.
I hate to. I don't want to interrupt any of this great conversation, but
Stephen, did you have more comments from Dr. McGraw?
yes, just a couple. I did want to. I didn't want to interrupt when we were having. I had actually been wondering about that like Creative Commons thing for a while. Anyway, Dr. McGraw did mention here that this part was really interesting to her, and she was looking forward to hearing more about it. This was saying that the review of qualitative responses showed that there was a mixed emotional responses even to non-nostalgic music.
Mm.
I wanted to make sure that that is an accurate way that that was being said accurately to what we as to what we saw. Um, and if not, you know, we can adjust that as well.
So, what exactly are we meaning there? Do you mean that people
If I
had nostalgic reaction?
if I remember right, in our qualitative data, it was indicating that
It's
maybe a historical
yes.
nostalgic
Okay, that
response. That's how
yeah,
I
I was
read it,
gonna
right?
say more for the era than
Exactly.
I got it. Okay.
Because it did seem like people were saying like, wow, that song brought me back, even though that was their control song that they were unfamiliar with. Um, but it is an interesting statement. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't saying it, you know, incorrectly or anything like that. I think it works well there. We just want to make sure it's accurate.
If we have room for a few more words, is there a way that we could say it a little more concisely
Sure.
uh, to indicate that maybe it's referring to, or do we not want to have hypotheses? What do you think, Perry?
I don't think we need to have them. I think keeping for this level of presentation the research question, especially while it's really reporting mostly on pilot data and conceptualization, is appropriate.
I just also had the thought that the more words we add, the harder it is to fit on the poster.
Absolutely.
Yeah, on the poster itself, it's intro, method, results, discussion. So it would make sense to me that the results might be one of the longer sections. And if anyone wanted to, one could look at the open-ended responses. This is what you're referring to here, the qualitative. I
Mhm.
remember doing something, I may have just put it in Chat GPT and ask it to, for the first pilot study, just asked it to describe the sentiments, just do a quick sentiment analysis. But we could do it you, whoever wants to, if you want to do it, you could get the open-ended items for the experimental and control groups and put it into, say, a software like Luke, Linguistic Inquiry Word Count, which is free, or do some other version of sort of a looking at so Luke, LIWC, it provides you with a general sentiment analysis, like positive, negative. Yeah, so anyway, there's multiple ways that one could analyze some open-ended items. It's not like a very it's just a more of a casual exploratory thing. It's not hypothesis driven, and it's only a relatively small sample, but if anyone wanted to look at it, or of course there's full-blown ways of sort of doing a content analysis of it. I'm not suggesting that you have to, overdo it or anything. Does anyone who's has a qualitative side to them have any input on that? If you just wanted to know sort of the general valence and some of the emotion words used, or something that's a brief set of results from the open-ended items, how would you approach it?
I've used several softwares in the past to do that. First, from the word count and the word clouds, it begins to build. Now, even Leximancer, I think, does themes.
Mhm.
But I haven't tried Luke, so this could be a good opportunity to get my feet wet.
Yeah, it's I think there's a free version, and then I downloaded it, but I think it was I think I might have paid $25, or it was something like that. It was not worth mentioning. I did it for oh, that's right. I did it for the our former university provost, Wendy Williams. I was analyzing some data and I got Luke to do that, and I just noticed that it automatically generates some different categories, like what's the reading level at which this text is, and what are some of the most used words, and it does word clouds, and it does emotional valence, like I said, and yeah, some things like that.
I did a study on qualitative analysis tools, automated tools, but it's been now about 2 years, and those were paid,
Hmm.
most of them. But I may revisit. I think it would be fun.
Yeah, I like Deduce, and it is also inexpensive if I'm going to do like a full-blown thing, where Deduce basically helps you
Mhm.
code things, like if you were to go through yourself like a bunch of texts that people said, and you would, like, someone said, oh, it gave me the feels from watching this with my parents or something, you
Mm.
could you could decide how you were going to tag things. Like I said, that would be like a full-blown analysis, and I think maybe that'd be taking things too far for just a pilot test. Of course, if anyone enjoys doing that or wants to do it, you could, but it wouldn't be something that we'd have space for a full-blown write-up of. In the actual paper, we'd probably give it the briefest of things, like we we might have a quote or two or make a summary statement like this, but we'd have to save the space we're given for the full study.
So there's a couple things that were coming to my mind from some classes.
Oh, I think we lost Jesse.
Yes, we did.
Ooh. Jesse, if you can hear us, you froze.
She's done some acting before. I'm not sure this isn't just a prank.
It's the Matrix.
You realize she's getting the sound feed and it's frozen up. So she's hearing
Yeah.
us.
Well, while she's coming back in, I can highlight the last section of feedback that I got from Dr. McGraw. It's right here. She asked a question. Really, my intention in this line is to just mention that, partly the significance, but also this is kind of a descriptor about media nostalgia. There's some work that Nick Bowman has done actually to separate media nostalgia from mediated nostalgia, and it depends on the target. And that's kind of what I was going for there, but I'm not sure it is necessarily speaking to anything. It's kind of right after our results section. She asks about, so are you also looking for nostalgia that's not directly about the media experience, but other related experiences like people, places, when you watch the show, etc.? I would say that should be part of our literature analysis. And yes, that would be included because we're just looking for nostalgia, right? I don't think that we're necessarily looking to measure it through any specific framework. But I'd like to open that up to the team and see what you thought about that. I thought it was a good question. Does that make sense? How I said that?
Mhm.
I've always, yeah, I've always thought that might be an interesting next step because is that related? Does the music trigger memory of the characters or the show or the actors or the family that I was with or whatever? Because the music is a very well-known trigger. Or is it simply the music itself because the music is a fabulous tune that you sing along with, and there's research to say that music itself and the lyrics are a trigger. So the singing of the song might be the nostalgic element if you go back to Bacho's work. So good question, Stephen.
Yeah, I don't think it's part of our research question as it
No,
stands, and
no.
we would have to add in targeted qualitative questions for
Yeah.
it. But um, and it may be something that just emerges from those qualitative short answers anyway, if they decide that they want to be, forthcoming. So we can keep that in or we can remove it. That, like I said, I think it's really more just describing uh, the different forms that media nostalgia can take.
I think since it says the show and the music or both, but doesn't detail people, places, eras, that could be part of discussion, but here in the abstract, I think this sentence shows the relevance of our study,
Mhm.
makes it special and unique.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
That show bit is kind of that show bit captures a collective of pieces, so it captures characters and story and the underlying premise of the show. So the show itself could be exploded into a lot of sub questions, but for what we've done, that captures show and music, I think.
And like you said, this research isn't yet breaking it down.
Mm.
So the abstract's kind of the encapsulation of it.
Mm.
Okay. Great. Well, I'll keep it highlighted. We can adjust it or not. The ones in green were really more um, asides, I think, than anything that has to be addressed. The blue here, obviously, this is your note, Angel, and the yellow is I think we've kind of decided that we're going to keep that right, but I'll keep it highlighted for now in case we want to mess around with it.
Did you feel like she was making the comment because it was curious to her, she was interested? Or did you feel like there was more to the critique?
For this last one here,
Yeah.
yeah, she says, yeah, this is interesting. Are you also looking for nostalgia that is not directly related about the media experience, but other? So she's kind of probing like, oh, this is interesting, sparking a lot of questions in her. So
Mm.
could potentially address it as part of, future direction. Yeah, I thought those last two were more positive than anything
Mhm.
else.
Maybe she's trying to help us figure out if we missed something or if it's just interesting.
Maybe I think it's hard to get across the totality of what we're doing here, even in 350 words. That's always the struggle with an abstract, right? So we could tweak it a bit if we wanted to highlight something more. I think it sounds to me from what everyone said here and what I've read that the abstract is really just to get people hooked before they get in there.
Mhm.
Kind of like a set list. Look for the artists that you're really excited to see at the music festival or whatever, and then make sure you're there. Um, so yeah, we have until the 15th, so we have some time. Um, I will keep this highlighted, and if you make any changes, just
Okay.
let me know, and I'll make sure before the 15th that I'll reach back out to Dr. McGraw. Feel free, anyone that wants to mess with it can mess with it.
Thanks, Stephen. Do we want to,
Yeah.
I think we talked about going through Qualtrics, not to make you keep driving, Stephen, but to make you keep
No,
driving, since you are
totally fine.
Qualtrics guy.
I will need to get Karen to authenticate me again. I
Stephen,
gotta
you
find a
are
password
authentic.
again.
We validate you.
That's
That's the
right.
best thing you could say to me. I've been writing about authenticity now for weeks and weeks and weeks. Feels like an eternity.
You are valid. We all like you. I'm looking in my email if you're sending me the authenticator thingy.
Yes, it should be there.
In my
And
days
just
as a bartender and a server, when people would ask for validation for like parking, but then parking validation, they'd be like, "Oh, can you give validation?" I was like, "You're perfect. You're lovely. Don't ever change. You're amazing."
You're quick, Jesse. That's
You always
great.
gave me extra tip when I was nice to him.
You're no dummy either.
Okay, I'm putting the authenticator code in the chat.
thank you. So I'm good for 30 days.
Nice.
All right.
It'd be nice if everyone could validate us all for 30 days, then we could
I know.
relax.
Let's see. Okay, yeah. So the two active ones right now, this is our pilot too. So if we want to do the main study now, we could just make a copy of this, right? Should I
I think I made a
turn
copy.
it off? Oh, did you?
See in there if you can find one that says study one.
Are there, oh, maybe there's more.
I don't, are you sharing your screen?
Yeah, can you not see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay, let's need to click on something else here. Oh, no, I can.
I was
Yeah.
I was
There
wondering
we
if you had any more than what was on the side there, and you've got like, any is this?
go.
Like 30 different studies.
It's making me
Um,
tired.
I don't think I see a full study one.
Okay.
There
Well, you
are a
can
bunch of
do it if
these in
you,
here that are still active though.
yeah, yeah, I'm not.
We got 104 responses on the last one. Was that what we paid for?
No, we paid for 50. If you click on it, it'll give you some info, like it'll tell you which ones are valid and
Yeah,
such. We should have turned that off. If we haven't turned it off, we can turn it off.
yeah, that seems like a lot.
But that's not what we analyzed, because there came a point when you don't want to just continue reanalyzing everything.
Okay. Well, that's fine. If we're done with this, I could just make a copy over and I keep working.
My memory is, and help me out here, Perry, we downloaded a certain number. I think I messed with it, analyzed some data, and then you did some stuff with it. So whatever we've downloaded and put, hopefully we put that in the file. I'll check the
Yep,
OneDrive.
whatever is in OneDrive is what we analyzed.
And we should hit stop on that survey, so.
Yeah, I'll do that. How about just full? Does that work? I think having theme song first just distinguishes it from other things over here. How does that look to you guys?
Can you put study 1 in the title?
Study 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Should that go first? What would be make most sense?
I know we're changing terminology here. Could we call it MTV study 1?
Sure.
I can go back later, or anybody can go back who's got the access and just change the pilots if we need to.
Perfect.
It just makes that's one of the reasons for picking a title, because I was writing all different versions of TV theme songs or music theme songs, and I thought, okay, I'm writing it all different, so it's getting confusing.
Does anyone know how to turn this off?
Let's see.
It might be under distributions. Pause response collection in the left button there.
Thank you. Anyone that's still taking the survey is going to get kicked out. Okay. And I guess we're done with this future recruitment, right? That was just for that last one. You want to
No,
keep that?
I think that's what you did. I think you called it that, or somebody did.
Yeah.
About they're giving us their email so we could contact them and ask them to be in the qualitative study.
So we'll want to keep that going just to keep collecting responses from the study 1.
Well, in my understanding, it was linked from one of the pilots, and it needs to be a separate survey, so we're not able to match their identity to their data. So it shouldn't, if it's only linked from the pilot, it shouldn't fill up anymore. We could certainly do the same thing on the full study.
Yeah, I can turn it off for now, and then we can turn it back on if we want to do it again with the full study. Does that sound good to
Now let's
everyone?
just make sure that we don't, that we know if they came from the pilot or the full study, so.
Okay, we could do a copy on that one too,
Yeah,
whenever the time comes.
I don't know why we specifically need that, but I like to keep things separate if possible.
Sure. Okay, so
And Perry, I think you've mentioned something about maybe some of the wording could be adjusted if you, did you have
Yes.
something specific in mind?
Well, not specific, but I thought what we should do today is just go back through the survey from top to bottom and just review how we've worded everything to participants and make sure that there's no spots where we think it's unclear what we mean by select shows that you definitely don't know.
Yeah, that's
And
the
then
thing
if we
where
wanted
all
to
those
add
people blew that
in,
off, yeah.
and then if we wanted to add in a exclusion criteria if they respond too highly.
so you know what? I find this to be really helpful. We could look at it as they would see it. Because if we're thinking that we had to remove all those people because maybe they misunderstood, pretend I'm 18. Oh, that's right. I have to be
Gotta be over
older than
30.
that. Well, there goes my fantasy of being single again. No, kidding.
Wait, Steven's wife, where are you?
Okay. So this is what they will see when they log on here. I think from a visual standpoint, it does draw your eye down to these little boxes
Mm-hmm.
immediately. Um, I wonder if there's a way with HTML or Java or something to put like a box, like a red box around this.
I think too, maybe some of this wording could, if we are trying to eliminate people that pick something that they don't remember, but then they find out they're remembering later, and that's skewing our data. Maybe taking out the do not remember what they are could be, because maybe people are like, oh, I've heard of that, but I don't really remember. And so like that could be a direct link to why we're getting like that 5 and above on that rating. So maybe just saying select all the theme songs you do not know might even add to the likelihood that they won't remember it later. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would be for me, I would unbold theme songs because I think that's straightforward, and I would bold the do not know and do not remember because that's the bit we want them to think mostly about.
I wonder why we did that in the
Or
first place.
maybe that you're sure you do not know.
Yeah.
Here, I'll do it like this.
Mm. Yeah, I can see taking out the don't remember what they are or making it more concise, like I can see just stopping at theme songs you do not know.
Or do not remember. Just you do not remember them.
Just stop there.
I think it's more about, right, are we trying to get at, please select 3 shows that you, or we also did the all, right, which because we were trying to collect some data during the pilot to get like all of them listed. But I think we also have to keep in mind, are we going to use all of that data? And if so, then we keep it. Otherwise, is it enough to say, select at least 3 shows that you've never watched before, and as best as you can recall, or you probably don't know the theme song, right? Like, do we need to collect the entire list?
So the reasoning, and I can only speak to the reasoning, maybe it's not sound, but we thought that, so I'll just do a quick example. Well, so like for me, mine looked something like this because I didn't know almost any of them. So I got to the next song, I had just a small list to choose from. And then I was like, oh, French Prince, Star Trek, whatever. I knew them immediately because I was able to see a smaller list. If you don't do that, it does get unwieldy, especially if you're taking it on the phone. I don't know enough about how cloud research, dictates the work for their participants, but if for some reason they're on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
it would make it really difficult. So
In
let's
that
just
case,
choose
I
the
might
3.
just leave it to pick songs you don't know. But I want to underline the idea. We're asking about the song specifically. So they can know the show, they can know of the show, they can have watched a couple episodes, but we want to know, do they know this song or not? That's what I think we were doing. Maybe that's why theme song was underlined, but maybe just songs you do not know.
And I would just bold or capitalize not instead of also the do.
Mm-hmm. So if we could just say bold songs and
Yeah.
do not know and leave it at that.
So like
Select all the songs you do not know.
this.
Yeah, I'm saying to go to just do not know and just leave it at that if we're trying to be speaking to your point about the phone.
Yeah.
We were trying to get more specific with don't know or don't remember, but if we're gonna go for the most succinct, select all the songs you do not know from the list below or
Well,
whatever.
that's interesting because technically the list is not songs, the lists are show
Yeah, I
titles.
think we need theme songs in there.
Okay.
I mean, at some point, and I know this is getting very psychological. This is what happens when you get psychologists in a room together. I think at some point you can trust your audience to put two and two together. I don't know if that's necessarily the most appropriate here, but in some cases, I feel like, at least when I'm taking these things, that it can be like, well, they've gone too specific now, and now I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Um, so saying songs, you look at the list, well, these are TV shows. Oh, well, they mean the TV theme songs that go with them.
Yeah. I mean, we could draft it to select all the theme songs from these shows that you do not know, or something like that, or we acknowledge that they're the show names. But I don't know if that's too bulky.
We say,
There you go. I
I
like
like that.
that.
I like that.
Yeah. And
The
then
comma
what are the
helps
rest of
break
it?
it up cognitively. Can you not underline not? So songs is underlined, but not is just capitalized.
Like this.
Is it clear enough, Karen?
Yeah, and
Can you-
we're getting rid of the first line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just there for comparison.
Yeah.
Could we, is it
Uh,
worth expanding to from these TV shows, select all the theme songs you do not
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, that's good.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the theme bit comes in because some of them had other songs, like Fresh Prince had a lot of other music.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. Just say do not know and we'll give them the credit for
Mhm.
figuring out, Okay.
Does that look okay in your mobile version, Stephen? If you want to pop that up? Or is
Yeah,
it too
I'm gonna say,
warning?
you will not. Yeah,
Should we
I'm
put
gonna
the
simplify that a
not
bit.
in all big letters like the other one? You will not be able to change your selection. We're shouting them. You will not be able to change your selection.
Yeah, let's see how that looks.
Yeah, that's very clear. I think then we'll have to analyze it by the song. Like it's okay if they say they know the show. You know,
Mhm.
logically they would probably know both if we're thinking back in the day they couldn't skip over, but you know, maybe they watched it later, maybe they skipped over the theme, maybe they don't remember for whatever reason. Maybe they were in the bathroom, I don't know, but it would be weird if they said they don't know the song and then when you ask them to rate how well do they know the song, they give it a 6,
I wonder how many older participants just know them all.
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
I don't know what this OC thing is, but
Yeah, what does happen if you just don't select any of them? Okay, yeah. That's clear enough. I mean, if that, the rare case where that happens, they'd probably be taken out as an outlier anyway,
Hmm.
for some reason. But yeah,
yeah, this
do
stuff will
we
drive
want
me
to
crazy.
look at anything else?
Yeah, just keep looking on down everything they'll see.
This does seem wordy.
Now, select 2 themes. Yeah, it could be just select 2 theme songs that are meaningful to you. You could get rid of the now of the remaining songs, just select 2 theme songs.
I remember we were analyzing something like how familiar they were with the show and also then how familiar they were with the songs. Would taking the word familiar out of this question impact that later?
We do want the songs that give them the feels, because like I'm familiar with all of those songs except for two. But so we could just go straight to two songs that give you the feels and take out the meaningful.
Do you think that the give you the feels part is a point where they could misunderstand?
Well, that's why we put the definition there in the brackets.
I think when you're reading it with a big wide screen like this, it looks fine. I mean, ignore this part.
Mm-hmm.
But it does start to jumble a bit when you see it in three
Mhm.
lines. So I'm just thinking, well, what if we shortened it?
I mean, if we did select two theme songs that are familiar and meaningful to you,
Hmm.
theory that should be enough. And again, this is my bias,
So-
but I always get hesitant when we have too much leading wording in there. Like if I'm looking at it from like a future reviewer, if I tell participants select songs that give you the feels and trigger strong emotions, and then on the next screen I ask you to tell me how strong those emotions were, am I kind of
Mm.
skewing you to rate it highly because you want to be a good participant and you said those songs would do that for you?
And I would unbold theme songs. They're just obvious. There's no, I would, if you were to bold anything, maybe bold the word meaningful, to Perry's point. You could bold give you the feels because that's actually what you want to trigger them to think about, but then you don't want to over trigger them to think about. So if you're going to bold anything, do you bold the meaningful because that's the thing you want them to judge here, that the songs are meaningful. That's what I would be doing if I was bolding in that sentence.
Yeah, this
That
is hard because I don't want to get over analytic with them. Like,
yeah.
I don't know that I would think like Gilligan's Island is meaningful to me. It's not
Mhm.
because it's an epic
Mhm.
tale that makes me, change as a person or something, but it does give me the feels because it reminds me of my childhood, that sort of thing. So I get what I think it was Perry who said we're begging the question by asking them for emotions, but um I don't want to just say meaningful because that's very analytic. And
Mhm.
what we are talking about is something that triggers emotions, but how to get beyond what Perry was saying, is it okay to
If
ask
you
them?
if you bouncing off that, Karen, if you did highlight, for example, give you the feels, but we don't say what feelings.
Mhm.
We're not saying positive or negative or sad or happy. We're just saying give you the feels. So we're asking, does this evoke something in you in a very colloquial way? Perry, to your point, could that be considered leading if we're not dictating the valence of the emotion?
Yeah, and I think there's no perfect answer, right? We just have to pick one and stick with it and defend it when we write it up.
Yeah, because we are asking for nostalgic songs, but we decided not to say that because we are asking them for nostalgia. Give you the feels to me is ambiguous enough that I could see just saying select two songs that give you the feels and then give them a definition in case they're not familiar with that phrase and leave it at that. But it's not perfect, like everything we ask. Then again, let me tell you this. So let's say just in my dissertation, because it's really easy to talk about these concepts. I had people rate different video games on how aggressive they are and what's their playability, how enjoyable are they and everything. And what I wanted to know was that some games are more aggressive than others. So it was just a straightforward, how aggressive is this game? How violent is this game? And it was okay to use the words that we were going to be using.
It's a lot of words. So for cognitive load, shorter is better. Another thing you can do is stack them. I keep thinking of that mobile view. One thing you could do is substitute the number 2 for TWO, which is instantly understood
Mm-hmm.
and shortens it visually. 2 letters, but still.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So
these are, just to review, the whole purpose of a pilot, in this case, a pilot about nostalgia inducing songs, is tell us songs that make you feel nostalgic versus songs that make you feel high nostalgic versus low nostalgic. So again, we eliminated the word nostalgia because we are going to ask them nostalgia later, but nostalgia is an emotion. So again, I feel okay with taking out meaningful and just skipping to select two theme songs that give you the feels and leave the parenthetical definition and not state what kind, because yeah, they could be any type of emotion that kind of helps us be able to defend it. Yeah, you could take out the little in other words.
oops.
I think that's the best overall that we can do. Do we have to say give them exactly 2 below, or
If they choose 1
mhm,
or more than 2, then they'll get an error. I just wouldn't want them to scrutinize for a couple minutes and then
mhm,
having chosen 4 and then
yeah.
get an error.
So we should do the not in all caps on that in that bottom sentence.
Oh, right.
But yeah,
You could do that exactly.
I
If
think
it's
choose something for
familiar.
us to keep in mind, right, is our second round of pilot data showed us that we have some sort of problem with the other tab where people are selecting stuff they don't know, but we didn't have issues in terms of people's responses on this one. So
mhm,
just something to keep in mind is what we're doing now is good, but we also don't have to overdo it because we didn't have issues on that part.
that is
In other
true.
words, this what people selected there, they then said was familiar and it triggered the emotions they said it would.
Mhm.
Or triggered emotions like they said it would.
Let's sanity check. That looks pretty good to me.
Yeah,
If you want it short, you could also say select 2 emotionally triggering songs, period. If it needs to be short.
I wouldn't do that. I think that's how psychologists talk.
Yes, that's true.
If we're doing it for ourselves, we could definitely do that.
Do we need exactly if it's going to give them an error otherwise?
Um, I I mean, I think compared to where it was, this looks really good. I think before
Long.
it was a lot on the screen. I think your suggestion with 2 theme
Mhm.
songs makes it really clear, but I think exactly is also a good thing because if they see 2, oh, well, I love all of these. I'm going to select all of that, and then maybe they feel like they wasted their time trying to choose the 4 instead of 2.
Well, that's good that the red pops up there if they,
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
good job on the coding, Steve.
I'll
Those little
take
things matter.
all the credit that I certainly don't deserve.
Oh, jeez.
It's true though. We don't want them sitting there being like, geez, I'm trying to pick Star Trek, the Jeffersons, and whatever, and it's not working. Now I'm mad. Now I'm annoyed.
All right, let me pick a couple and we'll keep going. So
Okay, and
this
then
is
yeah,
just a just a thank you screen. Any need to change this at all?
No, while you're doing that into my Qualtrics and just make sure I haven't found the I feel like the full study questions are in there somewhere, so I'm just gonna look for them.
I feel like in our last meeting, you had typed up something. I'm not sure if that had the final questions or not.
I know I've seen them inside Qualtrics. Let me just see if I can locate them.
Oh, that box is a different size. I don't like that. Why is that a different size?
Okay, Stephen, can I compliment you now and you'll take it?
About changing the box sizes.
Yeah,
This is an
right to the
illness.
pixel. No, I
Don't
get it.
encourage don't encourage me.
Bravo from one geek to another.
My wife has learned to deal with it. Okay.
I did find the study in there. Let me maybe I'll just put something in the chat if I can get the if I can get the link to it here.
Since we're looking at text, is this clear enough? I mean, to your point earlier, Perry, it doesn't seem like people had trouble inputting their answers. It
Yeah, I
isn't
think that part's probably fine.
okay. Okay, so here's maybe the other side of the familiarity issue. Could it be that this question here may be causing a little confusion? Maybe unlikely. I just want to ask while we're here.
What do you think is the confusion?
I don't know. I'm really just thinking experientially. The issue could come from choosing songs that you actually are familiar with, or it could be in how you're inputting the answer to the question, right? I mean, it seems pretty clear to me, but I think all of us are really used to these kind of things. We're used to psychometric surveys. Could we just like that?
I guess I would say what Perry said earlier, which is we didn't have a problem that we know of with the data, and that you're saying that because people just said they are familiar, that maybe they had a problem.
I mean, it's maybe unlikely, but it's possible that they read it and were like, "How familiar are you?" Oh, it was a nice song, so 6. I don't know. Just
I
figured I'd
think,
ask the question while we're here.
yeah, no, it's always good to ask. And I think too, because we keep the same wording for the ones they do know, I think this works, right? Because we want to keep the wording consistent. And I think this is super clear on the two songs they selected. And I don't think it's overly confusing for the one they don't know.
So, I gotta move everyone out of the way.
So I searched for the words study one and I found MTV study one and then theme song RS study one.
Okay. And you had already gone through and put in your changes in that other one. Is that
They
correct?
should be in, I guess since those are the only two that say study one, it should be in one of those, I think.
Yeah,
I
I'm
feel
not
like
sure
it
if
was
I
put
can.
in a long time ago that we're just looking for the self-continuity and the social connectedness items.
It's called theme song RS. Oh, this one.
Hmm.
Yeah. But and we had made changes on this one.
Let's just see if I'm looking for the dependent measures for the study, the self-continuity and social connectedness.
I don't see it in here. Would it have been somewhere in here?
I feel like the team put it online like really early because there's only like 3 or 4 items for each of those. But yeah, when you said that, it rang a
Museum
bell.
and inspiration. Study one survey, July 21st.
Yeah, we can.
Qualtrics team plan, maybe?
Well, they're the items themselves, and I
Hmm.
can. I'm gonna mute myself and look around for them too.
I'm
While
just
you're
gonna open this.
there, where is the quickest place for me to find those qualitative answers?
Oh, there's a data folder inside the study folder.
Okay.
2 of them, one for each pilot.
Here's self-continuity and social connectedness.
Okay.
4 questions each, right?
That looks right.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. I saw them somewhere in the Qualtrics, but it doesn't matter because I can put them back in there. They're so short.
So these will go maybe after the, where would we like to put these?
Okay. They're the dependent measures, so they need to go after their exposure to um the independent variable. So now we're talking about the full study. So I believe we said it has to be between subjects because we can't change their emotions so quickly. In other words, they either have to hear the nostalgic song or the non-nostalgic song. So we've got to assign them to either the experimental or control group, and then they either hear the nostalgic song or the high nostalgic song or the low nostalgic song, and then right after they hear that song, they do the dependent measures.
In which case, do we need to, maybe some of the stuff we just went over will change a little bit, right? Because participants
Yeah.
would only see one instruction set. So we'd
Yeah,
have to either put them in the control song group or the familiar song group.
exactly. There may be
Well,
skip logic and all that.
I mean, yeah, that'll have to be, I wonder how that'll work. We could still keep both of these because the purpose of this one is to narrow down the selection so it's easier to choose a meaningful song.
Mhm.
I guess for those who are in the control song only group, I mean, the process of choosing a familiar song could potentially, if we were to take this out of the group that was only getting the control song, I mean, even just kind of exploring your memories on, oh, I remember that show and that one, and you know,
Mhm.
maybe we want to leave both of these in there and then have the what would you call it? The like group assignment functionality after that.
Yeah, that's a valid point that they will see those song names. I guess they have to see them in order to make some choice.
Even if they're only getting one song, or even if they're getting two, they could choose 7 or something. And maybe one of them they stuck with, and they're like, "Oh, good times! I remember that was so great." But they get Mission Impossible in The Wire.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Perry and Josh, can you remind me, did we decide to go down to one song or did we decide to take it to two for um
Well, I think we had kept it with 2, and especially if we're splitting conditions, right? That means maybe we should have those who are in the control group hear 2 control songs, and those in the study group
yeah.
get
Yeah.
2 songs as well.
Yeah, because I had been thinking like in the pilot land where they hear 3 songs, but yeah, if they're in this full study, then experimentally, yes, they should be the same if possible. But I was making the mistake of counting a 3rd song against them, but no, they don't have to listen to the control because we decided there would be carryover effects and we just want to have them do either the control or the experimental, either the high or the low nostalgia. Yep, that should
if we're
work.
doing an either or, I need to put some kind of functionality in there to randomly assign them, right? Which I should be able to do through the workflows, but I'll do that outside of the call.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so back to this. Where would we like to put the? I'm assuming we would want to capture nostalgic, how they're feeling right away. And then put that. Then maybe measure their self-continuity and social connectedness afterwards. And then we can.
Yeah, let's think this through because I want to make sure I've been in pilot, my head's been in pilot mode for so long that I want to make sure I'm fully into this study mode. So here's a question. Like if we can back up for a second. We had the issues with having to rejigger, go through the Excel sheets and change. If they're just hearing 2 songs and they're both low nostalgia or high nostalgia, do we really need to change the orders? Does it matter? They're picking different songs anyway. In other words, let's say I'm in the experimental group and I pick Star Trek and the Jeffersons. Do I really need to change the order of those because everyone's picking unique songs? And there's not one that's like first or second. So I'm guessing that we can they get assigned to experimental or control, like randomly assigned, and we keep that going so that it keeps the groups as close to equal as possible. And then if you get 2 control songs, you get 2 control. If you get 2 nostalgic songs, that's what you get. And we don't need to mess with the order, but we are, like we did before, we can note what the 2 songs they heard were. But then we shouldn't have to do the gymnastics of disentangling them because they're only getting one type or the other type.
And if I understand Qualtrics workflow, which I certainly don't, but the way I'm imagining it is that whatever little split path I put in right here, it
Yep.
will tell us which group. So I can call
Yeah.
one control group and one nostalgia group, and then we should see that on the results.
Yeah, so that'll have to be a column that we
Mhm.
download into SPSS. It'll say nostalgic or control. And then we're going to be analyzing. That's going to be our main independent variable. So yeah, we'll have to have that in the data set. But then it should logically send them to their song type control or song type nostalgic, and also record what songs they heard.
Yeah, I think it'll point to the list that it pulls the song from, but it may be tricky, so I'll work on that.
Yeah, I guess for either, actually, when I think about it, I mean, I don't know how it's going to look inside here, but everybody will only have two songs. So we'll know what group they're in. So let's say they're in the nostalgic group, and then whatever two songs they picked for them, those two are nostalgic. And if another person's in the control, whatever two songs they picked, those are their control songs.
So actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that means I need to change this to require they at least choose two
Mm-hmm.
unfamiliar shows too. So I'll just copy that same text. I'll put at least. You guys can tell me what you think.
Yeah, making it the same with choose exactly two theme songs. That's good.
I don't know if I want to highlight two because I don't want them to only choose two. Um,
I guess you can have them only choose two.
well, the point was to get this list down because we want to make sure that the nostalgic songs that they choose for the nostalgic group are as meaningful as possible, right? And if they're seeing a big list of like 20, it's just going to be hard for them to look at.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible if you give them the choice that they're only choosing two.
Trying to think through, do they have to be treated exactly the same way in either group? Like,
Mhm.
does everyone have to be asked only to choose two? I think sometimes something like that is something we all need to think about to make sure, is it true that they have to be treated exactly the same way and choose to either that they do know or that they don't know? You know what I'm saying? That everyone, you wouldn't have that advantage anymore. They wouldn't be clearing out stuff from the list.
I think that there is something psychological going on when they're scrutinizing the list for the ones that they don't know versus scrutinizing it for the ones that they do have a meaningful familiarity with.
Hmm.
Looking at this, if it says choose just two songs you don't know, it's like, oh, okay, well, whatever, these two may not even have these ones that are important to them salient.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, so if
but
everybody just talking this through, and please speak now or forever hold your peace, y'all. So if we're having them
yeah,
each pick the two two that they let's say we're having them pick songs they do and don't know. And then unbeknownst to them behind the scenes, they're being randomly assigned to condition. And then we'll say something like, and we'd like you to listen to these songs that you previously selected. Eh, Okay, does that work for everybody? Any input?
Honestly, I'm a little confused on what's even happening. What's
It's
going on
not,
here?
So essentially, we're changing our study design a little bit now that the pilot is over. In the pilot, we were really focused on, for the same person, how do they respond to nostalgic songs and unfamiliar control songs? But now in our main study, we're adding in our other variables of interest, the dependent variables, which is how does this affect self-continuity? And in order to do that, we can only have them either experience the familiar nostalgic songs or the unfamiliar control songs. Because if we do both for the same person, there's carryover effect, even like switching the orders may not really help. So we're basically, each participant is only going to get one experience rather than both. So we
Oh,
just
okay.
need to figure out what the logic is to make that work so that we keep it as similar as possible without causing a headache for ourselves or making it confusing for the participant.
What, just, I'm going to throw a slightly, again, naive, I don't know. What if each song had a double check, either know it, don't know it. So you just had to go down and you had to choose, it was binary. I know this, familiar, not familiar, and they just went through and went bing bang, you know, because then we're not necessarily, I don't know, is that we're asking them to actually interact with every title, which we're not otherwise doing, but it would be a very clear way to delineate the two lists.
I think that solves one problem, but maybe takes away the advantage that we have on this question, which is making them choose the two most meaningful songs.
Ah,
But
well, we don't say
I'm not
most meaning.
sure.
We
I
don't
think,
say most meaning.
I,
Oh,
I I think that may be the implied messaging though, when
mm.
can I
and
just introduce
this is just me chatting though.
the logic of in an experiment? I think, Karen, what you were trying to get to is that we're treating both groups the same. So it doesn't mean necessarily that the question, these two questions we're asking, that those questions have to be worded identically, only that they have to be worded identically for both groups. So question one might be slightly different than question two about, you know, familiar versus unfamiliar. But if
Yeah,
everyone you see what I'm saying?
yeah, I think to respond back to what Ross was just saying, it's not that we want them to pick two familiar songs. We do want them to pick two songs that give them the feels. And I'd
Mhm,
like to actually kind of minimize the amount that they're needing to like actively engage with all of them. I want
mhm,
them to kind of scan the list and be like, oh, I don't know the Twilight Zone or the Fresh Prince. But then when they're asked what gives you the feels, you just look and you decide which ones they are. And then from the perspective of the participant, why I said that we would have some instructions next, if we're doing it this way, because you could do it where you only show them, you put them in the experimental group and they only pick the songs that give them the feels, or that you put them in the control group and they only get the songs they don't know. But we're not choosing that. So far we're having them both do both. And then the next instructions will say, we're now going to play you some songs that you selected, and we do that. And then we ask them for their input. So in my mind, this is good because it makes sense to them. They chose it and we're playing it, even if it's that they chose they don't know it. But yeah,
mhm,
we want to get don't know songs, and we want to get gives you the feels songs.
mhm.
We only want a couple.
Yeah, I think if they don't cognitively engage with every single one deeply, you're going to get a more visceral system one reaction connected to those emotions.
I think it still makes more sense for the nostalgic people to be like, oh, I just chose the Brady Bunch, now I'm hearing it. And the other people will be like, well, I just said I don't know this one. Like, why am I hearing it? But there's no getting around that. We got to show some people some songs I don't know. And for all they know, they're going to hear the other songs later. Uh, and then we're catching the how do you feel after each song? And then we're going straight to the dependent measures. We could, just to skip ahead, we can randomly assign which order they get the dependent measures in. They're both super short, but that'll be the last thing. And the reason for randomly assigning two orders of randomly assigning the order that they get the two dependent measures is, for example, there are order effects, like what if they get really tired and they're worn out by the time they get to the last one? If you randomly assign them that some of them get the first one, some of them get self-continuity first, and some of them get social connectedness first. So that kind of it's not that what the methods terminology is, the order would be confounded with could be confounded with their responses, like I'm tired and I got self-continuity last, so self-continuity doesn't turn out as well as the other one. I think this is all making good sense. As always, there's not like a bulletproof thing always that you can do. There's pros and cons to some choices, but we did do the pilot studies and we know how people responded, so that gives us uh, some info to go on as we create this actual study. And we might have little instructions like, please respond to the following questions about how you're feeling right now, you know, something to that effect.
Would we want this? Sorry, my dog thinks there's someone here. Would we need to put this on a different page, do you think?
Yeah, the dependent variables should be last, except for like if we're gonna ask them, is there anything else you want to tell us or something like that? But the dependent variables should be last after everything else they've done.
Mhm. So after the short answer as well?
It's questionable whether we'll have time for the short answer. We could end the study and say there's some optional questions just for those who want to do it. But I want to try to keep it to the promise, which is that we said this would be about 15 minutes.
I think too, keep in mind that we'll now have a shorter main part of the study because every person's only going to hear 2 songs. And even in that last pilot, they were listening to 3.
Yeah. So what do you think, Perry? Put these same two. There, I guess there would be 4 questions because you're going to do it for both songs individually, or anyway, do you want to put the open-ended last? And if so, do we want to change it to be like the songs you heard today rather than do it for each song, or?
We could combine it and just say in general, optional, tell us a little bit about how the songs you listened to made you feel. And they can either kind of cumulatively talk about them together or they might just call out one, right?
Yeah, I think that's good.
This last time. Oops. Sorry, I'm struggling with what I even did this time.
No, we're all just thankful we're not doing it.
I literally just said that in my brain.
I was
I
up till
love it
like
when other people do work around me. So great.
I was up till 1:30 doing my citations list for my proposal, and I got it done. But I also only got like 4 hours of sleep. So um,
I don't remember getting an email that said your proposal was in there. Did you send it to everybody?
I sent it to just you
Oh,
because I think we had talked about. I also told you I was going to send it a month ago. I spent a month rewriting a section.
I don't see an email that tells me a new submission. So
I'll go back and take a look at that.
yeah, just make sure I get that, so
Standard.
I'll flag me.
Oh, I did a thing. Oops.
When I
There
look at
must
all
be.
these, oh,
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
go
What
ahead.
were you saying?
Go ahead. I was just saying when I look at all these dependent measures, to me, that's where this whole thing feels sort of exciting or magical. Like, will they respond in the predicted way to these questions? I don't know. They did for Sedekides and Wild Shoot and all of that. And I didn't always love their manipulations of songs, so I don't know. That's where the magic is.
Okay.
Yeah, and when we finish this, whenever it's ready, it should go out to the members of the lab just to give it a trial run, catch any typos or anything that's going on like we've done before.
And you said you think there should be a page break between the nostalgia measures and familiarity. That could be on one, and then we page break to the next page for
Oh,
self-continuity.
Yeah, and
What do
then
you think?
the self-continuity and social connectedness are the ones where we want to randomize the order, like Karen was saying, to for that order effect.
Oh, randomized between how they're presented?
yeah, the order of presentation of
Okay.
self-continuity and social connectedness.
I think that has to be done on its own block then. Let's see. Ah, all right. Sorry, I'm gonna do this.
Oh, and while you're doing that, Stephen, I'll just say, I thought maybe we would get into individual groups and talk about writing this week, but let's just not rush anything. We can do that next week because we ended up finishing off the survey and we'll be testing that out and then sending out the link to everybody. And when it's ready, we'll put it up on Cloud Research and hit go. I did want to say something about the writing while we're here. I think that uh, unless is there anything else you'd like to ask us, Stephen, or in,
Do we want to order randomize the order of the individual scale questions
no, just
or
the
just the two scales?
scales, yeah.
Got it.
By the way, the reason for that is it's a different experience intermingling items on scales than it is having the scale intact as it is. All of these things, some people have different opinions, but I like to keep the scale intact as it is, as it's probably measured most often by other people, and not have people going back and forth between what are potentially very different things. It might not make that much difference here, but I generally just randomize by scale, not by item.
What am I doing wrong here? Anyone who knows Qualtrics better. I could figure it out, but I'm brain dead. Because it
Um,
looks like if I choose randomize the order of all questions, it's just gonna blow the whole thing up.
what happens when you go to advanced randomization?
It gives me this confusing thing, which looks like the
Randomized
same
question
issue.
by subset. Hmm.
I'm not sure which of these is which scale.
Let me do some searching. You would think it would be totally normal to randomize
Yeah.
two scales. Let me see what I can find.
And while you're looking at that, just to to make sense of this again, we're copying. We're going to have a copy of this, right? So they're going to listen to a song, answer nostalgia, familiarity, maybe not the short answer, then dependent variables, and then they'll listen to a new song and repeat.
Yes, they'll answer the questions like, how did you feel? Each of those emotions. And then they'll do the dependent measures in one of two orders.
Yeah, and then they'll repeat it with the new song.
Oh, I think we can only ask them the dependent measures once after both sons. So
Ah,
at the
okay,
very end.
yes. Got
Speak
it.
now if
Okay.
you disagree. By the way, I did ask for info and I put some in the chat about randomizing scales in Qualtrics. Let me see what else I got here.
Not gonna touch.
Even if you do something in Qualtrics, is there like one massive undo or no?
Um,
I
they
think
have
there's
some good.
I
Oh, well, maybe you know, Barry.
was gonna say they do have version history.
Mm. They have they have a good many safety nets. Like anytime you delete something, they just put it down here.
Yeah.
You could delete it forever, but I don't know why you would. It's just kind of archived down here.
So it says to randomize two scales in Qualtrics, place each scale within its own block, go to the survey
Oh,
flow, add a randomizer element, then drag the two scale blocks under the randomizer.
that makes
Like it,
sense.
the randomizer.
So that'll have to be dependent variable.
And you probably don't want to show them the name of the scale either.
Oh, I know these are just, this is just the question name. This is the text that they would see,
Okay, great.
which right now it's nothing, but I think we'll want to put something.
Yeah, so I think the main answer is they have to be in separate blocks. But all those steps are in the chat.
Survey flow. But now I'm wondering, how do we even randomize the group assignments?
Yeah, how do you
Because we need a lot of functionality going on here.
yeah, let me see what I can look up here.
Maybe I can randomly generate a number, either 1 or a 2 at one point, and then in the JavaScript, I can have it say, if 1, show control songs, if 2, show nostalgic songs.
Well, here's the answer I got here when I searched for it. I love that you can just look these up in Google. It's crazy. Like you used to have a manual for the thing. So this is my question was, how do you randomly assign participants to conditions? And there's even there's step-by-steps. So I'm gonna save this little presentation. They sent me a little presentation of how to do experimental design in Qualtrics. Let's see where to go. Oh, this might just be a link. So it's saying to randomly assign participants to conditions, use the survey flow feature to insert a randomizer element. And it goes on. So it ensures that each respondent is randomly assigned to a single experimental condition, which is then recorded as an embedded data variable for analysis. So it will give us a column in the spreadsheet for which condition they were randomly assigned to. Let's see.
Okay. So then I guess I can have unique JavaScript for song 1 and song 2. Have it.
Yeah, I don't, it looks like you could just use the menus without having to write anything, but here's a
Well,
link to a YouTube.
what's going on in the background is I'm randomly choosing a control song. Well, right, yeah, a control song and randomly choosing a nostalgic song. So that still needs to happen, but I need the code to choose to show only the control or the nostalgic song, which I
Oh,
think
I think you
means
don't need to do that anymore because aren't we only asking for 2 songs each time and they hear both of them?
yes, but because we want them to I can't go back while I'm doing this, but because we want to narrow down that songs you don't know list with choose as many as you can, and then we're only asking them to choose 2 nostalgic songs. Um,
Hmm,
we have a different pool, right?
yeah. Well, I don't know. We could just go with the way they call the instructions that I put in the chat and just have them pick 2, whichever, and don't do the narrowing down part. I mean, I
We could do that. Yeah.
if you wanted to write code, you can. I just don't want to get us twisted around in any way. I'd like it to just like put itself orderly into the spreadsheet and it says condition 1, condition 2, and nobody has to like sort it in any way. But I do get the thing about narrowing down, but
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Let me save this and I'll go back. So if everyone is okay with it, what we're talking about would be this. We would just have the same wording, list to list. The only difference between the lists would be that you'd remove the 2 songs that you chose you didn't know from here, and then have them choose this. The list would still be long, but maybe that's not that big of a deal. And we just say 2.
I mean, you could then
What do you
with
think?
assigning them to experimental or control, only show them the list that says pick 2 songs you don't know, or 2 songs you do know. But yeah, that would make it very, very simple from a Qualtrics standpoint, and people would see one list and they would either be picking 2 they don't know or 2 they give them the feels.
Do you think that it matters that they're making a conscious choice to choose something that they don't know versus choosing something that they do know in terms of their ability to say, I'm feeling nostalgic? Like, does that change the experiment in a way that might affect the results?
Well, if we did it that way from the beginning, they would just be experiencing either the control or the experimental condition.
Mm,
That's all they would experience. Um,
okay.
so, I
Yeah.
mean, it is kind of a dud. If you're in the control, you're like, why am I hearing the OC? Or, I don't even know what this is. Or you're thinking, oh, I was wrong. I totally know what this is. Um, but that
That
would,
sounds great to me. I could do that in an hour.
yeah, sorry, here's Hercules. It's the keep it simple, sweetheart version of, he was making some whiny noises, so I picked him up.
Just
Yeah. I think that makes sense. It just divides everybody from the beginning. They're just picking 2, and they might be thinking to themselves, why am I listening to 2? I don't know, but that's like every psychology experiment. Like, why am I telling them about that? I guess, but yeah. I think we're kind
That's
of
good
making
to
these
know.
decisions on the fly. So if you send it around to all of us, it will occur to us if we now look through the thing and we're like, wait, we didn't anticipate that happening.
Mhm. Since we spent so much time word crafting, I'm going to. Oh no, I got editing happy. Ah, it's fine, whatever. Okay, we'll send it around like this and see. Great. I can well here, last thing. Should I keep the short answer for now?
Yeah, I agree with what Perry said about just making it about how did the songs just phrase it as the songs since they're hearing only two, and we don't want to ask them four different things.
Mm,
Yeah, we might need to move it to a new block so that it's not
yeah,
asking after song one and song two. It's just after that part is done.
that
At the
makes sense to
very
me.
end,
Sorry, I must have
because
missed that.
we want to give all the mojo possible to the dependent variables because that's the only thing we're going to be analyzing,
Mhm.
The open-ended are interesting, but we don't want to get it as close to the dependent measures as close to the experience of the independent variable as possible. Oh my goodness, he's getting huge.
We had these three at the end down here. Anything to improve the survey experience? I'm assuming we don't need that anymore.
True.
What about feeling anything unexpected or
No,
experience of listening? I mean, right now we have it saying these questions are optional. We could just
yeah.
add these two to this.
I
Or do
think we
we?
want to err on the side of not overdoing it. Like, I don't want to. We can have one catch-all question that's like, is there anything else you want to tell us?
Hmm,
Um, but yeah, it was how do you feel and what are your memories? Those are the two. Like, so
mhm.
after listening to these songs, how did you feel about listening to these songs? And did these songs bring up any memories?
My cursor's stuck as a little. All right, how does that look? Well, this sounds great. I think I can get rid of most of my coding then. I think the between subjects change really makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. And
So that's great.
we may do multiple studies like this. It'll be nice just to have that. And let's say we just change out dependent variables. It'll be easy to transition to and know everything is working and in place with just using the embedded Qualtrics tricks. I think the only other thing I wanted to say was that in terms of getting ready for writing the sections, I'd like us to start out with the different groups of the first step being generating an outline for the section that you're working on. That just helps so much to not, especially with the intro, because the intro can just really get out of hand. Um, Having an outline for how you're going to order everything will be the first thing that we work on when we get to the writing. All right. I know we're over time here, so Jesse, are we going to stay on for a minute and talk about the other class?
Yeah, that'd be cool as long as the room doesn't shut down if Steven's in charge of it.
I have a quick question. You can stop recording if you want, but it's just terminology that I need for